We're continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Hilchot Shabbat. We're in Siman Shin Aleph up to Seif Memchet. We're starting Memchet again over here on Daf Pehe Amud Aleph of the regular prints of your Mishna Beruras. Maran writes, Mistapek Adam be'aluntit. And this is like the towels of back then. When you have taken a cold bath or whatnot, you fell into water, and on Shabbat, can you dry yourself up with a towel? So Shulchan says you can, and you can also carry it. Now we're not talking about the carrying as far as tiltul is, the meaning hotza'ah is concerned, but the problem is, can you handle a towel? We already learned before that when you have a beged, when you have a garment that is soaked with water, you can't even handle that beged because lest you're going to come to squeeze the water out. So here, by towels that are made for this, we're not really that concerned. But don't give it to the balanim. Balan was a fellow in charge of the public bathhouse. If you give it to them, their natural reaction is they'll squeeze everything, right? Because that's their job. They take this soaked towels and they squeeze them, they hang them to dry. Whatever it is that they do with it, they're professionally handling these things. So therefore, you don't give it to the balanim because maybe they are going to be squeezing the water out, which would be obviously a problem. So says the Mishna Berura over here. From Magen Avraham, you see that nowadays is better to dry yourself with something you're not really concerned about the water inside of it. And the Vilna Gaon writes, it seems from what he writes, that regular towels, aluntit, is something that people are not really careful about the water inside. And that's not towels nowadays is really that way. Also, the people are not really that concerned about the water inside the towels. Now, the Ran in Masechet Shabbat, Daf Samech Bet, explains that the heter of drying yourself with a towel is because all the people who take a bath or take a shower, they dry themselves with something. They're not going to walk in the street with wet clothing, putting their clothing on a complete wet body and hair and beard. They're not going to do that. And if you say it's asur to dry themselves with a towel, right? You're basically asuring them to wash themselves altogether, and that is not something that you can do because people are not going to accept it. It's not a gezerah that people could do. So therefore, you have to allow them to do something that halachically is feasible. You know, it's allowed, and also physically, practically, is feasible for people to do as well. And this is the Ran. Rishonim write this already. Maran Bet Yosef over here actually brings this Ran. It becomes a famous Ran. And the Magen Avraham, Rabbi Avram Aboli Gumbiner, as one of the greatest mefarshei Shulchan Aruch, he writes over here in Seif Katan Nun Chet in our Siman that according to this, really nowadays that you can go without rechitza, it's not as big as a deal, so it should be asur leistapek. It's a very interesting cheshbon. He says the whole heter is because people are not going to be able to refrain from washing themselves, so therefore you have to allow it. So nowadays you could do it, and therefore it will be going back to its original isur of drying yourself with a towel. But the maaseh, at the end of the day, you could argue back that once Chazal did not make this gezerah, we don't create our own gezerot, and therefore just be careful to have a thick towel that doesn't become soaked with water, and it's something that you don't care about it becoming wet, and then it will be mutar, which is really the ikar halacha over here. So it says the Mishna Berura, Aluntid afilu kol gufo, you can do the entire body, right? Obviously, you can't take a shower with hot water with even poshrim, but with cold water you can do, and therefore, after you wash your whole body, you could dry your entire body. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Now, the Kaf HaChaim writes that same would be obviously if you washed your face and hands with hot water and you're drying it with a towel. And again, the drying is really the focus that we have over here, and that would be mutar. Now, says the Shulchan Aruch. Again, we mentioned that you could bring it, you can handle it. It's not muktzeh because we're not concerned that you're going to do schita on it. And you could even bring it from outside to your house where you have eruv, but you should not be giving it to people who may come to squeeze it. Now, Shulchan Aruch writes in Seif Katan, Seif Memtet, mutar lirchos yadav benahar b'Shabbat. You could wash your hands in a river on Shabbat ובלבד שלא יוציאם עם המים שעליהן חוץ נהר 400. But you can't carry the water that's on your hand 400 in Reshut HaRabim. You're taking it out, that's going to be a problem, because then you're carrying now the water that's on you. You have to shake off the water. You kind of like air dry it before you run away, before you start carrying it on you. So that's something to be concerned about as well. This is actually becomes a question for people who go to mikveh and they don't dry themselves well, and again, their hair may be dripping with water when they come out of the mikveh. Now, again, in our place, we have eruv, so that's fine. But in places that they don't have eruv, that would be actually a problem. Going to mikveh, you have to be careful with this halacha, not to have water on your body dripping, because then you're carrying that water with you, which would be obviously an issue. Now, the reason that Shulchan Aruch says carrying it 400 outside would be because regular dry land is considered Carmelit, and therefore carrying it 400 would be an issue. But if you are in Reshut HaRabim, then you can't even bring your hand out of the area of the river into the outside. That by itself is hotzah. Forget about carrying it. The river is Carmelit, and you're standing in Reshut HaRabim. You cannot take something from Carmelit and bring it to Reshut HaRabim without even moving an inch. Your body, just a hand coming from Carmelit to the Reshut HaRabim with the water on it, will be a problem as well, and therefore a person should be mindful of that if outside of the river is Reshut HaRabim. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Nun, יוצאים בפשתן סרוק וסמר מנופץ שבראשי בעלי חטאתין. A person could come out of their house in Reshut HaRabim with things that are attached to their hair. This is again people who had issues with. Nowadays will be the equivalent of that would be people who are going under chemotherapy and losing hair, and they don't want to, young girls, and they don't want to look strange in the beginning stages that are, some clump of hair that they've lost, but the rest of their hair still is intact, so they want to have like hair attachment, so to speak. Back in the day, the hair attachment equivalent was, they had pishtan saruk, semer menupas, that they would put it there to look that they still have their hair there. So that's what they used to do. Says the Shulchan Aruch, it's mutar to go out with that in order to look. They have a full head of hair. We're not concerned that they're going to take it off because that would be very embarrassing for them. So that would be obviously mutar. Shesva'am ve'karachan, they would dye them to the same color as their hair. and they would wrap them and attach them to their hair, so to speak, in order to look as part of their hair. At least you either have attached them, or you've gone out with them already from before Shabbat, and then you could continue it on Shabbat as well. Says Maran Shulchan Aruch. Now, the reason that you have to go out, Mishna Berura explains, is because the Galia Dated Malbusho Kaimi, because you're showing the Malbush Kaimi, this is considered my outfit, is considered my levush, my derech levisha, and therefore it will be mutar. Now, Shulchan Aruch continues on the last Seif over here, Seif Nun Aleph, mutar latzet b'misnefet tolim b'savar, lemi sheyesh lo makah biyado o bizro. You can go out on Shabbat to Reshut Harabim with a misnefet shetolim b'savar. They had like a hat, the misnefet that would come, around their neck as well. This is for somebody that would have a bruise. The Mishna Berura explains this, that the nusach of the Shulchan Aruch that we have does not fit the purpose, because if you say it's on your tzavar, then it doesn't fit a person that has a bruise on their hand. So says the Mishna Berura, you have to say beyado, kach tzarich lomar, וכן נתפס בעולת שבת ובתוספת שבת, מה שנמצא באיזה דפוס בראשו, טעות סופר. There has to be that you have this in your hand, and that's what's covering it. And the Shulchan Aruch continues, וכן בסמרטוטין הקירוכים על היד, when you have bandages around your hand, when a person has suffered from bruises on their hand and it's bandaged, or on the finger, you have this obviously includes the band-aids nowadays. You have a band-aid, you want to go to the Reshut Harabim. Is that considered carrying, or is that not considered carrying? I could take it off. It's not going to be bleeding, gushing out, but it's needed for my bruise still to have a band-aid on. Is that considered carrying, or is not considered carrying? That's the Shulchan Aruch for this. Is mutar. That's it. B'misnefet shtoim b'savar, lemish shemaka b'yado or b'zro'o. When you have a bandage or band-aids on your hand or on your finger, it is still mutar because it's considered part of what you need, and therefore it's not considered carrying. If it's wrapped around the makah, it's also mutar. וכן הסכימו עוד הרבה אחרונים, ומשמע דמסתת המחבר, דבזה נחשב כמלבוש. This is what's the reason of the heter? The reason of the heter is because it's considered, your garments is considered your malbush, אפילו לא יצא בהן שעה אחת מבעוד יום, even if you didn't go out with it מבעוד יום, still would be מותר. מה שאין כן בסעיף נון, כתב כן המגן אברהם, וכן מסתדר ברבא, חיים בברכה הלכה. This is considered really a heter because it's part of what a person wears based on their situation. Even though that a bandage is not considered a garment, but it's derech malbush because a person that has chatatin, a person that has bruises or that type of medical condition, is normal for them to cover themselves with a band-aid or with a bandage, and therefore it would be mutar. So that really concludes our Siman Shin Aleph, the long and complicated and fantastic Siman, and Be'ezrat Hashem, Siman Shin Bet is what we will continue in the days to come. Hazaku Baruch.